Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of This Week in Comics, the comic book preview show that ate our comic book review show, Comics in Brief. For those of you that didn't understand any of that, I would like to let you know that for the time being, we are going to take both of our episodes and we're going to smoosh them up in this one really big episode. It's like two for the price of one. And now let's talk about some comics. A lot of fantastic comics came out last week. Let's take a look at the top 5 bestsellers. Coming in at number 5, we have Infinity Countdown number 3 from Marvel. Following up at number 4, we have Rise of the Black Panther number 5. Sitting at number 3, we have Batman number 46. This is the second part of a story with Booster Gold. Coming in at number 2, we have Avengers number 1. I will be reviewing that in a little bit. And the top spot, DC Nation number 0. Probably on the strength of it being only a quarter is the reason why it sold so well. But it was hard to pass up with 3 pretty neat stories. Boy, do I read a lot of comics. Let's check out the highlights. First up this week we have DC Nation number 0. This was a book that only cost a quarter and had 3 stories in it. I personally was looking forward to the Justice League story and it didn't disappoint. The artwork by Jorge Jimenez was excellent. It wasn't as much a story as it was a setup for the big No Justice storyline that's starting this week. This was a very good appetizer. The Brian Michael Bendis Superman story is laying the groundwork for the Man of Steel miniseries that's going to be coming out. It was an okay story and it introduced a new character. And the Tom King story about Batman was actually a Joker story. I don't want to tell you too much about that. The artwork by Clayman was excellent and there's a cool punchline at the end. So, DC Nation number 0 for a quarter. It was definitely worth it. I think if you paid $2.99, it would be worth it also. Next up from Image Comics, we have Death or Glory number 1. This is a new series written by Rick Remender with illustrations by Ben Gall, who is right now just gaining steam here in America. So right off the bat, the story is excellent. I really enjoyed finding about the character Glory, who's trying to gain money so that she can get an operation for her father. She's going to do this by running some heists. Rick Remender has a very good knack when it comes to getting inside a character's head or letting us as viewers or readers know exactly what these characters' motivations are. I also like his dialogue. The scripting's pretty cool. Where this book stands out from others is in the illustrations. Ben Gall is a fantastic artist and I really enjoy seeing his characters on the page. The action sequences are excellent. It isn't often where you can see a car chase situation in a comic book play out perfectly. It just doesn't always capture the movement on the page when you're doing vehicles. But Ben Gall is able to do that, and I also like the character designs also. So, Death or Glory number 1 is definitely a book you should pick up. I'm going to be going through and picking up all the issues as they come out. Next up, we have a review for issues number 2 and 3 of Deathbed. The story so far is Antonio Luna, a former superhero, an adventurer of sorts, is on his deathbed and he hires a failed writer to write down his memoirs. But there are evil people out there that don't really like him, and in an attempt to prevent that story from coming out for us to read, people that can corroborate his stories are being killed off. The second issue sees Antonio Luna attend a funeral of a woman he had a tryst with. I really enjoy the fact that his memories of her aren't exactly the ones of her family and friends. We get a really good idea of the character of Luna and how self-centered he is. Going on to the third issue, that is continued because there are people that he basically made a church of himself with, and then he ditched them, and now they've come to honor him one last time. The artwork by Riley Rossmo is excellent. I really enjoyed it. The characters are really fleshed out. There's a lot of nudity in these books, a lot of male and female nudity in the third issue. So if you enjoy that type of thing and don't get too bashful, this is definitely the book for you. Joshua Williamson does an excellent job writing this, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Next up, we have Hunt for Wolverine, Weapon Lost. For those of you that don't know, Wolverine's been missing, and people are going to be looking out for him. In this one, it's Daredevil getting together a bunch of detective-type characters. We've got that Inhuman one, we've got Misty Knight, and they're all going to get together and try and look within New York to see if they can find Wolverine. It seems his body is missing from the grave. The artwork by Matteo Buffagni does a very good job of telling the story. One of the most important things to me as far as illustrators is whether or not they'd be able to tell us what was going on in the page if there weren't any words. He does a very good job doing that. Charles Soule, who writes very good words and also writes a very good Daredevil, does that in this book also. This was the Hunt for Wolverine story I was most likely going to enjoy since I have a penchant for liking Charles Soule's work. I would recommend picking this one up. I'm not quite sure about the other miniseries that are going to be coming out, but this is the one I am most likely to read all the way through. And lastly, this week we have Avengers #1, written by Jason Aaron with artwork by Ed McGuinness. Right off the bat, I want to let you know that I give this book high marks. It's definitely one you should be picking up if you are an Avengers fan. If you've seen a little movie recently, you might be coming into the comic store for the first time. This is definitely one for you. The beginning of this issue ties into Marvel Legacy, so if you haven't got that, you should definitely pick that one up also. And it deals with the Avengers from a million years ago. Avengers, I say, but it's really Odin and the Phoenix Force and a whole bunch of other characters. They are talking about their potential last fight because they accidentally killed somebody. I don't want to really let you know because it's a little bit of a spoiler. Suffice it to say, it ties in to the Avengers of today, which is the band getting back together of Iron Man, Tony Stark, Captain America, Steve Rogers, and Thor, Odin's son, yay. There's other characters that we're going to be introduced to too, but it's mostly about these guys that are filling up the rest of the book. At the end of the issue, some of the stuff that we saw at the beginning is coming into play. Again, I don't want to let you know. The artwork is excellent. Ed McGuinness does a really good superhero team book, so this is one, again, you should pick up. And next we have previews. These are the books I'm really looking forward to, and you should be too. First up this week we have Barrier #1. This is an Image comic by Brian K. Vaughan. That's the guy who writes Saga, and Marcos Martin. These guys have been working together for a little while. They actually put this comic book out for free, but this is going to be the first time and maybe only time you're going to be able to get a physical copy of it. These are going to be deluxe pieces of artwork that you're going to want to get. I expect it to do very well, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, we have Batman White Knight #8. This is the last part of the miniseries that Sean Gordon Murphy has been writing and drawing. It's fantastic, and I really don't need to tell you much more other than that. Pick it up, and if you haven't, wait till it gets collected. Speaking of collections, we have Sherlock, Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil. This is a spin-off of the Black Hammer series that I'm in love with. Jeff Lemire does the writing and David Rubin does the art. In fact, the Black Hammer issue #12 that Dave Rubin drew is actually in this collection also, since it mainly deals with Lucy Weber. And then so does this mini-series, which is about her trying to find her father, who disappeared with all the heroes at the end of the big event that we all know occurred. So, Sherlock, Frankenstein, pick it up. I love this mini-series. I love Black Hammer. These are definitely books you should be picking up. Next up, we have Venom #1 from Marvel Comics. I am personally not a big Venom fan, especially as far as a villain hosting their own comic book. I know Venom's done some good things in the past, but this one's going to be written by Donny Cates. He's hot off his Thanos run. He's hot off his Doctor Strange run. He does a bunch of other comics I would highly recommend you checking out. Also, Brian Stegman is doing the illustrations. He's very good, and I'm excited for Venom. Pick it up. And lastly, this week I recommend you check out Justice League No Justice #1. This is the first part of a 4-part weekly miniseries that's coming out with artwork by Francis Manapul and writing by Scott Snyder. This is going to spin out from the events from Dark Knight's Metal. It seems that the source wall has been destroyed and all sorts of manner of things that we never knew in our universe are coming into play. And the Justice League have to deal with that. A lot of the future of the DC universe is going to play out in the future Justice League storylines, so this miniseries is a big event that anybody that's a fan of DC, anybody that's a fan of the Justice League, or almost every character they have in the universe should be picking up this miniseries. You might even put it on your polls. We'll be happy to do that for you. I'd really like to thank everybody that showed up for Free Comic Book Day this last Saturday. It was quite the event, and we had a ton of customers that showed up. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for doing that. Visit your local comic shop. If you are in the neighborhood, I highly recommend you come in and say hi. Let me know what you think about comics. Or, if you don't come in, let me know in the comments down below. And all that other stuff. And we'll see you next week.